So his agent was the one who was ripping him off. So he was flying in private jets, and then his agent he never knew it was his money. But he was not getting that money personally. He was not getting that fund personally. He was not seeing the money. See, it's like you're working and then somebody else is getting paid.
Like the proverbial monkey they walk.
Monkey they walk, baboon they chop. Exactly. That's exactly what was happening.
Welcome to this game of legends. Legends and Greener Pastures unravels the harsh truths and glimmers of hope in the journey of young athletes striving for a professional career.
Hello everyone on another episode of this game of legends. I have with me here Amos Joseph, a sports enthusiast into athlete development, especially trying to educate young athletes, equip them mentally, intellectually on how to go about their career. Today we'll be talking about athlete development, what they need to help them channel their career, their ambition, their passion into the right direction. My first point of discussion would be a question. Mr. Amos Joseph, I have this opinion, it's usually an unpopular one when it comes to athlete development. It is that we have so many athletes in Nigeria who are looking to go professional. And we know that the slot to play professional is very limited. A lot of our young talents see professional abroad as their objective, as the way to go. How can we make them understand that it is not all about that direction? How can we expand their thinking into understanding that there are other things that they can do? That's on one end. Another end why this happens is because people look at sports as a quick way to make money, football especially, getting rich, even those who don't really necessarily have the talent or the passion or the ambition just want to make money going to sports. We have to filter them. That's what I think. We have to filter those who really have the passion, the talent, and the ambition, and those who are just trying to get rich quick, make money fast. It's not their fault. This is what I've come to understand. It's due to certain economic or societal constraints. They see that as the next best thing to do. So your expertise with what you do with athletes, with the talents, how do you go about nurturing these young athletes? How do you go about helping them understand, expanding their mindset, their horizon to achieving their goals?
Thank you, Olumide, for having me on the platform. It's a pleasure to be on the platform today. First off, let me say that, Amos as a person, I grew up playing football from the streets, in school, in the uni, and then I tried to play professional as well. But the reality, for most of us, is not every one of us will make the cut to get to play professional. And that's the honest truth. Even in the United Kingdom, there's this statistics that 0.5% is the number of people that make it to the top flight, only 0.5. That's to tell you that it looks like a paradise to us, but there is hunger in that paradise. So what we are faced with in Africa is the opportunities are not there. The environment is not right. The structure is not right. We've not gotten our basics right. There are lots of things that we need to put in place that are still not in place yet. And it's taking so much time. It's taking like forever. Imagine our ages today, and then you've been told that, it's going to be better. And then year after year, it doesn't get better. Now, the truth is, talent is not a problem, especially in Nigeria. You will agree with me that we've got abundance of talent. At home, wherever it is in Nigeria, there are talents everywhere. There are young stars that are doing super. I'll take, for instance, the NPFL under-17 ongoing. They just finished the game. They just finished the tournament, the under-17 championship. And Rivers United won. I was watching the highlights recently and I'm like, oh my God, these boys are so good. Go back to the boys who represented Nigeria at the Viareggio Cup in Italy. Ujudu City FC, Remo Stars, Alex Transfiguration, and then Marvelon FC. Imagine where they got to. This is a global championship. Imagine where those boys got to. They got to the semi-finals. All of the Nigerian teams, aside one of them, got to the semi-finals. That's it to tell you that we've got the talent. But how can we then help this talent? How do we better our lot? how do we have our best players to look forward to playing for Enyimba, to look forward to playing for Katsina United, to look forward or to aspire to play for Remo Stars? Even the guys who play for Enyimba, who play for Remo Stars that I mentioned now, they want to live for abroad. Bring a deal from Libya, they want to jump on it. An opportunity from Egypt, they want to jump on it. So what exactly is the problem? So there's a fundamental problem that we are yet to resolve, which is the problem of leadership, the problem of structure, the problem of an enabling environment where youngsters do not see themselves excelling, where we do not see ourselves say, oh, I can hit my potential, I can hit my maximum here, I can make ends meet if I decide that I want to stick here, I can get my family out of poverty. Ultimately, if I decide to marry as a young man, I can take care of my family, things like that. So these are some of the things that we're faced with. Now, people do not take as much concern in trying to mold youngsters. Growing up, we used to have this word, role model.
Mhm.
Oh, who is your role model? Oh, this is my role model. That word seems to be extinct now. And why is that? It is because everybody now feels like they know it. Everybody feels like, oh, this person is not doing anything special. But that's not how it meant to be. We should always have someone that we are modeling our character after. We should always have someone that we're looking at and say, oh, I want to be like Kevin De Bruyne. I want to play like JJ Okocha. Growing up, there are people who want to play like JJ. There are people who want to play like the Sunday Olise. There are people who want to play like the Stephen Keshes. So how do we help young athletes to begin to reason in this light? How do we come to the point where we begin to say, oh, okay, if you want to become a professional, these and these are the things that you ought to do. Now, let me come down to how we founded Footballers Connect. I told you earlier that I also wanted to become a professional. After my university education, I thought to myself, I'll give you a practical example. I wake up in the morning. I didn't have a job yet. I wasn't looking for a job. I wanted to play professional. I was training in National Stadium with an amateur team. We're playing the FA Cup, Lagos FA Cup. We're playing in tournaments. We're playing in scouting games. But at some point, I got injured, and then I thought to myself, I can't just sit down at home. You know how it is when you're done with university, or you're living with your parents. Do you just want to be waking up and be sleeping? You want to be watching TV. You want to be watching soap opera. You want to be watching African Magic. No, it's not going to work. Or you want to be watching Sound City. It's not going to work, bro. What you then need to do is to look for something to better yourself, And then I thought to myself, you know what? I need to go get a job. I went to get a job. And then I thought, because I was also doing journalism as well. And I thought, you know what? I've got passion for football, but I see something. I see a problem. Now, I'll give you an example. I grew up knowing some very good footballers, going to the National Stadium. For context, I grew up in Oshodi. That was where I finished my secondary school. I know these guys, they were very good, but some of them didn't end up playing professional. What happened to them? They became people that started talking to people, calling people and say, oh, can you please send me 500 naira? Can you please send me 1,000 naira? I'm like, what happened to these guys? What plan does our society have for people like this? And, because they so much believe in the football, they so much believe in their talent, many of them did not go to university. Many of them did not write JAM. Many of them do not even have WAEC. Many of them do not have a complete O-level result because they thought that football was going to be it for them. And if it's not happening, age is catching up with them. Now, what happened to these guys? I didn't want to be like that. I'm like, you know what? Hey, I have to go and get a job. Else, I am going to become like this Brother Mufu somewhere. Or I'm going to become like Brother Wasiu or Brother Kelechi somewhere that refused to go to uni, that refused to get a job, that kept believing that you're going to be a professional footballer, and it wasn't happening. When football does not happen for you, what do? You should have an alternative. This is where the society comes in. This is where the government comes in. This is where the local government comes in. This is where the family comes in. Now, this is a set of people. There's another set of people who will jump at any opportunity at all. Someone sent me a message and said, Amos, I've got something from Dubai. They asked me to pay XYZ amount. The guy knew that I went to university, so he knows that he can always run to Amos for certain information. And he's like, he saw me in training and I said, Amos, somebody give me an opportunity. And they said that I should pay like 2 million naira. Like 2 million naira for what? To go and play in Dubai. You have to pay money to go and play football. That's not possible, man. That's not how I know football should be. You shouldn't be paying to play football. They should pay you to play.
They should pay you to come for trials, even.
They should pay you to come for trials, pay for your flight ticket.
Yeah.
Right. Pay for your flight ticket, pay for your hotel bills. I mean, I'm like, this is how football works.
Yeah.
Now, this young man wants to go to Dubai, wants to pay 2 million. And I said, let me have a look at the invitation. And I saw, I'm like, this invitation is fake. This is fake. Look at the phone number. Look at the name of the club. It's not even well typed. Look at the errors. Look at the comedy. And I'm like, come on. And then I thought to myself, you know what? I can actually start something to talk to players. All I just need to do is to get XYZ, ex-internationals, get coaches who have been in this field, get agents who are well experienced, get, people in the industry who can mentor these youngsters and say, hey, this is how it really works. You hear about the stories of players who went on trials and then with the cold in Europe, they couldn't even kick the ball. Nobody tells you these things. They used to say something in Pidgin. No. If you have not been to Europe, you don't know how it feels, man.
At all. I lived in Dubai for 10 years. My first bachelor's was in Dubai. I studied there, I played football there. I even coached there. So when I saw that as a young, talented athlete, I always saw the algorithm. This is going to be very difficult. I had to expand my scope. I did some coaching. I did some events, gigs. I met world-class players. I worked for Emirates, for instance. I worked for Nokia. I worked for across all board. So that was where my mindset began to form. I met players who would say agents exploited them.
Yeah.
Bring them to Dubai in the hope
Bring them
of
to Europe, abandon them.
They come with a 2 weeks visa. And I tell them, how did you think you were going to come for 2 years contract and you have 2 weeks visa? And it's sad sometimes. It's sad to see that our own people who claim to be agents or scouts are the ones still exploiting these young guys because they are desperate. So these guys get their parents to sell. Those who are still lucky enough to have parents sell properties. Like, how can you be so evil or so wicked to get people who are already struggling to sell their properties just to swindle them? It's very sad. But I'll go back to some of the things you mentioned about our young talents. While we played South Africa at AFCON, in Nations Cup, something stood out for me. All our players, the entire starting lineup, none of them played in Nigeria. The person who played in Africa was our goalkeeper, Nwabali, who played South Africa. But guess what? We played against a South African team that plays in South Africa. They are homegrown talents, but they got to that level. We needed foreign-based players who were not just foreign-based, but Iwobi, Basi. Some of them were born there. And we had to go to penalties. If you bring foreign-based players to play against another African team with homegrown players, but they still held up toe to toe. Some people said we were lucky. We struggled. So that tells you something. That tells you that we have the right talents in Africa. We have the right talents. That's number 2 point. Number 3 points I'm going to make is what I tell young athletes. I have a company called Remote Global Sports. I mentor, manage athletes as well, young talents. What I tell them is, look, don't just look at football as some people will say, don't put all your eggs in one basket.
That's it.
Don't put all your eggs. Like you mentioned something fantastic. You're a journalist. You aspire to be a footballer, but you found ways to go into other directions to expand your scope.
Exactly.
Expand your scope. If you look at Nigeria, look at just one local government in Nigeria can have 50 different grassroots academies. Just one local government. I'm not talking about state. I'm not talking about a national platform. Right? How can you stand out? Everybody wants to play football. For you to stand out, you need to add an extra edge to your personal life. Read, speak. You can go on social media. You can start talking. Just do something. You can write about football, write about sports. Add something that, in case football does not work out, all right, what else can I do? And it's so sad that we have a lot, I dare say millions of people who were unlucky not to get to the professional stage, who were not educated, were not properly equipped with information on how the world works. They get too old to pursue a football or a sports career, and then they become a menace to society. There's nothing else.
That's it. There's nothing to follow.
To me, that the society has failed them. The government has failed them. And one thing I always say, unpopular opinion, is even ex-successful internationals have failed our young athletes.
Exactly.
And I will say this. I had in one of the previous episodes, I think the first episode with Olawale Adigun, and he said something. He said we should not blame ex-internationals. I'm not apportioning blame. It's one thing to hold them responsible for them for something, and it's another thing to blame them. I don't blame them. When I say this, a lot of people think I'm expecting ex-international or successful athletes to come and invest, to give money, to give all this. The reason why I somewhat hold them responsible is because you mentioned the word role model. That does not exist anymore. Can we bring that back? How can they come back to be role models? You know, I don't like when I see athletes in interviews and they're flaunting cars, flaunting how much they have, flaunting their houses. I would like to see athletes who are advocates for human rights, for instance. We've had a couple of young athletes pass away. We have health problems. We have welfare problems. We have infrastructural problems. I don't see our major athletes talking about these things. I don't see them speaking. We don't have to spend money, but you are a voice. You are right there. For instance, as a Super Eagles player, successful, you are a voice that would speak to things like this. You should advocate for young talents, and that is why I come in. So it's across all board. We're talking about the government. We're talking about the society. We're talking about ex-internationals. And I will end this part of the discussion by bringing up the last point. As I say, the mindset of our people also has to change. I posted something the other day. Parents need to get involved more. A lot of parents, a lot of the older folks still see sports like music. For you to go into sports, it means you're not that right. My mom used to say,
means you're not serious.
You're not serious in life. Not people. Your mates are top.
You want to go and play football, you're not serious. You better go and carry your book and read.
No, carry your book and read. So I think, why can we do both at the same time? One of the things I teach is financial literacy in sports. If educated as an athlete, you will not end up being broke or poor after you retire. I'm not going to mention this, but we are aware of many ex-internationals who come back after retirement and they're broke, they need support, they're asking for funding, they're asking. That should not be in a country like Nigeria. We have legends across board. It is one thing for them to be successful. It's another thing for them to understand how the world works in terms of how to sustain themselves beyond retirement. How to manage themselves. Yeah. So these are some of the things I've put together from my experience, from my studies as well. So I saw you were nodding when I mentioned ex-internationals.
You see, on the part of the ex-internationals, I mean, just as Olawale Adigun said, don't blame them. They don't owe anybody, right? They are only responsible for themselves. You know, we come from a society where we think about ourselves. We don't think about the other people. And if you look at developed world, it's not the same. In developed world, people think about the larger good, the good of the society, the good of, the community, how the community can move forward, things like that. But for us, it's more of, how can I escape this poverty with my family? How can I alone? Honestly, that's the truth. How can I alone lift myself out of this problem? And, well, I don't live on now. Things like that. Now, when we started Footballers Connect, I reached out to one ex-international. It was the right person that came to my mind. He would have been very perfect for this platform. And it was going to be my first event. Made my proposal, went to him, tried to look for sponsors. I struggled. I went to him and I said, someone linked me to him and I said, this is what we're planning to do. He played in England. He has all of the experience. He played in other countries. And I'm like, okay, this is what we're trying to do. He said, oh, fantastic. He likes the idea, blah, blah, blah. I should speak to his personal assistant. And I'm like, okay. They started asking me to pay, I think, 2 million naira or so. And I'm like, oh, we're just starting. We can't afford 2 million naira, blah, blah, blah. Okay, but we can afford something. And he says, if it's not 2 million naira, we should exit. And I said, okay, no problem. This is one person. And I went to the second person. And the other person came with, and I'm going to mention it. Taribo West came, and it was, wow. If you go online now, if you type Taribo West Auxerre, that was where he mentioned for the first time that he was going to burn down the whole of Auxerre when he realized that he was being cheated by his agent at the time. That was the first time Taribo was going to share that story with about 100, more than 100 participants. those boys heard the information first time. Don't let people rip you off. Now, what exactly did Taribo West share? Taribo West shared information as regards how he was riding bicycle to work when other players were riding in their Lamborghini, in their Ferrari and the likes. And he's like, and they asked him one day, why are you riding bicycle? You know, he went to his manager and he said, hey, what's going on? Arsenal is looking for me. Inter Milan is looking for me. XYZ club, because he was doing very well. And they said, young man, don't you know the contract you signed? Go and read your contract. And that's where he dawned that he didn't know the content of his contract. Taribo West mentioned blatantly that he never understood his contract. He didn't know what contract he signed. And he signed himself into slavery at Auxerre. He said he wanted to burn Auxerre. He was in the dressing room.
He had an agent. What was the function of the agent?
Yeah, so his agent was the one who was ripping him off. So he was flying in private jets, and then his agent he never knew it was his money. But he was not getting that money personally. He was not getting that fund personally. He was not seeing the money. See, it's like you're working, and then somebody else is getting paid.
Like the proverbial monkey they walk.
Monkey they walk, baboon they chop. Exactly, that's exactly what was happening. You know, so Taribo West mentioned all of these, and trust me, there is no better person to share this story. There wouldn't have been, I can't share the story the same way Taribo West will share it. If you go on our page, you will find this story. And a lot of people were stunned. Some people were crying. Like, how did you go through all of this? And people will be in Nigeria, they'll think you have a lot of money. See, sometimes, and I'm happy that the times are changing. People are getting wiser. You know, with platforms like Footballers Connect, people are getting wiser on a daily basis. You don't want to know the number of emails, the number of inbox I receive on social media. Oh, Amos, can you please confirm this for me? I did a story on Guardian on this. My story is on the Guardian. If you go on my X page, you'll find my pinned tweet. It's there. Boys went to Uzbekistan. How can you go and play football? What football is being played in Uzbekistan? You go and play football in Uzbekistan and you pay. You pay to go to Uzbekistan. You know, these stories,
obscure places, like Wally would say.
Obscure places. These stories are touching, but they are real. They are truths. You know, and you wonder, how do people find themselves in these places? And it's because nobody tells them anything. Nobody tells them what exactly obtains. Now, this is what Footballers Connect exists for. We try to share as much information as possible to say, don't pay anybody to get you invitation. Don't pay anybody who asks you, oh, come for trials, you need to pay XYZ amount. It doesn't work that way. Football club is like Manchester United telling you to pay £10,000 to come for trials. Come on, Manchester United will not do that. Because they want you, they need you, they should pay you. You know, they should be the one paying for your flight, paying for your ticket, paying for everything, paying for your accommodation, put you in a decent accommodation. You know,
for them to say they want you, they have the budget to get you.
Exactly, they have the burden on themselves. Now, these youngsters only look at the brighter future and say, if I can just find 1 million naira. But, I mean, it doesn't make any sense. If you go back and look at all of these so-called invitation letters, they are fake. The English is not correct. They're not well written. You know, they'll put a FIFA logo. What is FIFA? What's FIFA's business with your invitation, with the club invitation letter? Yeah. So they put all of these logos because they know that, they are sending it to some boys in Africa. They don't understand how it works. And the sad part of it is some agents also come to Nigeria, you know, to tell players to pay 500K. Before you know what's up, they're off. For some people, it is, they pay this money. They actually take them abroad, but abandon them. You know, there was a story in the 2000s about some youngsters. I mean, I used to know one of them personally because we were playing together at Pepsi Football Academy. I used to know one of them then, and they were abandoned in Ukraine, in a village in Ukraine. Imagine a village in Ukraine where it is snowing, where you don't have food, you don't have anything, electricity barely got to the place. God, what are people looking for here? You know, so that's where we realize that there's a space here for us to cover. You know, and then it dawned on me that, there's something going on that people are not talking about. Let me take you back to my personal self. I did my master's program in sport journalism in Sheffield Hallam University in England. And then my project topic, I did a documentary on this topic. My supervisor was surprised. He was like, oh my God, Amos, you're teaching me a whole lot. Yeah, because people don't know that these things exist. So what exactly is the problem here? People who should assume positions of responsibility are not taking it upon themselves to enlighten people, to help people not to fall into this trap. But hey, today, I can tell you for a fact that people are becoming wiser. There are still some, in quotes, foolish ones that would not listen. There's an adage in Yoruba that says, Ajá tó bá máa sọnù kò ní gbọ́ fèrè ọlọ́dẹ. What that means is that a dog that will go missing will never listen to the hunter. If a dog is going to get missing, he will never listen to the hunter.
Yeah.
No matter how much he blows his whistle, he will never listen. So some of these boys still have all of this information and they still fall victim. You can tell that these things are right there. This information is there for everybody to see, but people are too lazy to read. Rather, some people who have internet, they will rather watch, musical, they will watch all of these things. Things that don't help their career online. Things that don't help you. What are you doing on social media if it doesn't help you? You don't have any business there if it doesn't help you.
I did my master's degree 7 years ago in the Netherlands, sports business management. In my research, I discovered a lot of things. A few things I'll touch on was, number one, it's a cycle. So we see a lot of agents and scouts these days where those who are aspired to play football, they didn't get there, then they just transition into agents. But then what happens is it dawns on them that they could actually make money exploiting on these other guys because they were exploited. So they exploit us.
Yeah,
and then
other people
get exploited and go on to exploit others.
It becomes a cycle.
It's a very close cycle. That was one thing I observed. Another thing I get conclusion of while I was doing my research was that we lacked a platform for kids, basically.
Yeah.
Because the formative years for kids to learn, when their motor skills are just developing around 5, 6, 7, 8. That's why you see a lot of clubs have under 4 tournaments, under 6, under 8. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't know of any Nigerian athletes whose background we can trace to when they were kids.
None.
We see Messi's childhood footage.
Yeah.
Ronaldo, top players, Mbappe, when they were kids.
Only they don't go too far. Yeah. So the thing is, you see the problem, right? I mean, you've hit it on the head. Now, we don't have that structure. We don't have that system. That system where, I play for Aimba under 10. I play for Aimba under 12. I play for Aimba under 13. I play for Aimba under 15. You can see that progression, yeah? And then that is how it works in developed world. But for us, I play for Alagbole FC in my backyard somewhere.
We can't trace. It can't be traced.
It can't be traced, right? It can't be traced. Why? Because, nobody knows Alagbole FC. I might be 20 and I claim to be 14.
Absolutely.
Right. This is where we've always been in the past. But the beauty or my joy today is that things are beginning to take shape gradually, even if it's a very slow one, on a very snail pace. Very snail pace. Now, we are beginning to see under 15, MPFL under 15. We are beginning to see MPFL under 17. And I am happy, extremely happy that this is happening because this is the future. This is what should happen. But the problem is many of these clubs are government funded. So if, and that's the bigger problem.
How's that a problem?
So where that becomes a problem is this. If you've ever been to any professional football club in Nigeria, if you go to their camp, some of them are in a sorry state. Many of them, I would say, are in a sorry state. Only a few of them can boast of a very good facility. Only very few of them. Few of them can boast of very good facility. Now, what do we mean? I'll give you an example. When Orji Kalu was the governor of Abia State, Aimba were flying. And this is the same thing that happens all the time. When a governor who loves football comes in, the team will do well. Why? Because they will get all of the backing they need. They will get the right players. They will get everything they need in terms of facility, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of equipment. Everything they need, they will get it. Right. Now, when the governor leaves, and this is why this is a problem, because we don't connect it properly. So we connect it to the individual, not the state itself. because the new governor does not like football, he doesn't allocate as
There's
much
no
as
continuity.
there's no continuity. Right. Now, that is a problem in itself. Again, so tell me, if the first team suffers, what becomes the fate of the youth side?
They will
They will nowhere to be found.
You go to obscurity.
But if it's a club like Remo Stars that has the right structure, they have a proper club setting where they have an under 13, they have an under 15, they have an under 17, under 19, and now they have a female. But again, because it's a privately owned club, it's a business for them. It's a business. They know what they are doing. They know exactly what they are doing. Players are moving abroad every day from Remo Stars. I mean, every day in code, right? Players are literally moving abroad. They are signing professional contract in clubs. One of their youngsters just started playing for Inter Milan. Akif Somiro.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, so this is what happens in a club where there is accountability, in a club where there is structure, in a club where there is progression. See, trust me, some boys in Ogun State will start dreaming, if I can just play for Beyond Limits. If I can just play for, and Beyond Limits is the academy side of Remo Stars. Yeah. If I can just play for Beyond Limits, I know that someday I will play for Remo Stars. That should be the thinking.
I like that. I like that.
This is how our youngsters should begin to think. Because they know that, hey, from Remo Stars, my future is bright. I will play in the MPFL and I will play abroad. Hopefully. So they begin to hope. Now, let's come back to, people who are doing stuff. Someone like Trent Alexander-Arnold is a young man, but he saw himself as one of the lucky ones. That's why I said from the beginning, not all of us are going to be that lucky to play professional. Some people it's not that they're not good enough. They just didn't have the right opportunity. The time and chance, didn't match for them. That's how I usually put it.
Apart from time and chance, what I like to say is taking cues from my own experience, learn from my mistakes. What I like to say is when it comes to athletes, most of us, the young ones now, focus too much on physical fitness, physical training. Kevin De Bruyne, 2-3 years ago, when he personally negotiated the renewal of his contract for City, personally, he did it himself. Now, it occurred to me that, number one, athletes these days, you don't even need an agent. With the advent of social media, if you know, there's branding, there's social media. Number two, when you read enough, go on social media enough, there's connection. You can expand your network to meet people. Number three, your intellectual and mental skills can come into play. Persistence. There are life hacks that young athletes can take advantage of that can work in their favor, and then that would then they're exploited. So these are things that I teach the little ones when I meet with them. Like, you don't even need me. Some of them see me, you don't play ball for abroad. It's not that I can't get you. I didn't even get out. I can't get myself a club. It doesn't work like that. I played Dubai 10 years. I played in the Netherlands for 6 years. It doesn't work like that. What I've learned. There are millions of athletes competing for very few slots. You need to do something to stand out, to set yourself apart. So what I like to say is, to round up, is that athletes, young athletes these days, number one, get the support of your family, of the parents. Number two, don't depend on anybody. Don't depend on anybody. Number three, take each training as a trial match. You don't know who's watching. You don't know who's. Number four, invest in yourself. I like what you mentioned. When you have data to study or to watch videos that would enlighten you.
Yeah.
What are you doing with your time and your data?
Yeah, that's it. The one soft life.
So what I'm trying to say is, Footballers Connect, Lumos Global Sports, and the host of other people who are doing fantastic things in sports. How can we come together to collaborate? That is one thing I see that is missing predominantly in our sports industry in Nigeria. How can we collaborate with each other? How can we put hands together to help raise the new generation of young talents coming up? Your final thoughts for tonight. Hopefully we can have more. We could go 10 hours, 15 hours. Session. Please end your thoughts on that question.
So for me, I think collaboration is very key. If you look at people who are moving, they say if you want to be successful, as a business, you have to open your doors, to collaborating with other people. You have to open yourselves up for people to. It's not like you're allowing every Tom, Dick, and Harry into your life, but you're only opening your doors. You're opening your windows to opportunities to say, okay, you've got this idea. What can you bring? What can I bring? And then we form a formidable force. So if we are all able to come together to say, oh, you work in the media, you are a football agent, you are XYZ, how can we build an ecosystem that works? How can we build an ecosystem where everybody is going to thrive? How can we build a system where everybody knows what to do, where everybody knows the right thing, where nobody wants to take advantage of anybody, where people would think about the common good of all, to say, okay, I want to be successful, but I also want you to be successful. And this comes to our mindset. We need to first of all renew our minds as individuals. The quality of your thoughts determines the quality of your actions. So if we are able to first renew our minds, like for the youngsters, when you're not playing, what exactly are you doing? Your last game, how did you perform? If you listen to a young footballer here in England, how he analyzes his game, his personal game, you'll be amazed. He tells you all of his stats and he says, oh, my coach, okay, the stats say I have this, I think I need to improve on this, because he knows what exactly they're using data. And this brings us to, the issue of collaboration again. There's someone who is good in data. There's someone who is media. There's someone who is this. This is what I think we all need to do. Come together, form a force. You invited me and said, oh, Amos, can you come? And yeah, this is what it is. This is how it is. So when someone is listening to this podcast someday and he says, oh, I think I heard this guy say this, let me go and try it. And this is how people learn. That's why we need to keep encouraging people to invest their time in quality stuff. I don't want to focus on anything that is not adding value. Even if it means that you sleep, I will sleep.
Yes, very important.
Rather than for me to do things that don't add value to my life.
It's
so
like
if you do that,
you say, busy doing nothing.
I'm telling you, man, busy doing nothing. You're doing something that doesn't add value to your life. Yeah, it doesn't add anything. So if you know that you're engaged in things that don't add value to you, come on, just squash it. Make sure that you're investing your time properly. Make sure that you're reading. It doesn't mean, when they say read, it doesn't mean go and buy one big textbook or go and buy. No, it means when you find information, try to read it. It means, when you hear somebody talking about a project of interest, try and listen. It means try and pay attention to things that concern you. Because these are decisions that are going to make or mar you in the future. So I see, we're going to go places. We're going to do things. We're going to collaborate to make our society a better place.
Absolutely.
No matter where we are right now, physically, someday we're all going to. I was talking to someone, I think it was 2 days ago, and I mentioned somewhere in my state where I come from, in Kogi State, and I said, is there a football club in Kogi State? And I'm like, apart from the NNL side, Kogi United, is there another football club? I don't know. And I began to think, and I'm like, those ones, they don't do well safe. Like, if the governor doesn't like football, you're in soup. That's why I mentioned, and I said, see, if the governor does not support football as much, he's going to suffer. And that's why we need to create a system that works, create a structure. So what is our own responsibility? How can we get into the system and say, okay, what can we do? We know how difficult it is. See, trust me, if you want to do anything in Nigeria, you need a deep pocket and you need a lot of perseverance. No, it's not going to change overnight. You cannot make any change overnight.
It's take a long time. We have a lot to unlearn and relearn. I've counted about 10 different topics that I've picked up from what you said that we can go on to touch on, but for the sake of time, we'll keep the rest to next time. Mr. Amos Joseph, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure having you here. A lot of insights, a lot of knowledge shared, and let's do this again.
Yeah, sure. Thank you for bringing me on, Olu. I have enjoyed my time on the show today. Really, I've enjoyed.
Let's come together. There are a lot of projects we can do together. Footballers Connect. There's a lot we can do together. Thank you once again, and have a great
Definitely. Thank you, brother.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed it. To follow our journey on this mission, kindly do not forget to subscribe and check us out on social media. Until next time.